Hi, welcome to the Ambient iPad. Today we're going to take another look at the 2021 iPad Pro 12.9-inch and do some more comparisons with the 2018 11-inch, and I just want to update some of my thoughts from the last video. Let's start with a comparison between the 2018 and the 2020. I know I did this in the last video, but there are a couple of points that I do want to revisit. The first being the screen quality. Now I apologize because the screens right now, there's a lot of reflections that you're going to see. I'm trying to stay out of the frame so that I'm not actually on it. But even here you can see one difference I have from the last video is in the last video I had the brightness all the way up on both iPads at 100%. Right now I have it, I would say it's probably like 75%. 2/3, 3/4. The reason I did this is because I noticed for the last video some of the music apps were pretty washed out. But let's look at the screen quality. So you can see right here that the blacks are darker than they are on the 2018. So the 2021 does show blacks a little darker. Let's start these videos. This is an LG demo video. If you go to YouTube, just search for 4K 60 HDR and you'll see a bunch of different videos that I think are good at showing the differences between the screens. So let's get this started. And you'll notice a few things right off the bat, hopefully, with the quality of the video. A lot of stuff that I talked about last time, I just think that this highlights it a little more. The shadows are darker, the colors are a little more deeper and vivid, and certainly the highlights and the bright spots are just slightly brighter. So to me, if I had to rate it on a scale, I'd say maybe a 20% improvement overall. Certainly the difference with the shadows and the blacks being darker are the most pronounced for me. And I think if you're doing video editing, photo editing, graphic design, any kind of job that relies on accurate color, I think that the 2021 wins on that. I'm going to take away the 2018 now, and let's just go over some other points of the 12.9. So one of the apps I want to look at, last time I talked about how the Moog Model D and Model 15 apps weren't really rendering correctly. And even at that time, Moog had said they were going to fix them, and in this week they did. Let's open up the Model D. As you can see, the resolution now, rendering, excuse me, of the keyboard and elements is fine. Let's close this. The Model 15, same thing. Again, apologies for the reflection in the screen when it's just the blank screen, but there you go. So you can see Moog updated them. They look beautiful. The one thing I have noticed with apps, and again, this is more that really the closing can be problematic sometimes. Let me open up apeMatrix. Whoops, because last time, because I had the brightness all jacked up, it was really kind of the quality of seeing the screen on apeMatrix was pretty bad. So I'm not going to look at this again like I did last week from a performance perspective. But one thing that I did notice and kind of validates for me a reason of going for the bigger screen is that I use Gauss Field Looper a lot. And this is essentially the size on the 11-inch. And you can go from 100% speed to 50%, and I was always having trouble with finer resolution with my fingertips with a lot of things on the 11-inch. But one good thing here, because I have way more room, I can, again, this like any app will only get so big, but you know, that's substantially bigger than the 11-inch. So if I'm moving and trying to do slow movements of speed, slower movements on knobs, it just seems to be a little easier because I have more room to work with. So again, not really a difference between or not really a pro for the 2021 models per se, but just the difference between the smaller and the larger. You are sacrificing portability, and I have noticed that a little already, but the benefits of the larger screen are just really outweighing it for me. The other thing I want to talk about is Cubasis. I did have a question in the last video about how Cubasis was working. So far it's working fine for me. What I'll do here is, so I have a bunch of audio files I've imported in. Let's just add them to tracks. You know what? Let's the media, my audio. So let's just. All right, let's go to the next one. Just randomly adding the stuff here. Let's do another one there. All right, so I've added 4 audio files. There's other stuff going on here. This is just going to sound like a big jumble of a bunch of different sounds, but I'm not doing this to demonstrate sounds. I'm doing this just to show that even with taxing Cubasis, with a number of large audio files, and these aren't really that large, but they're larger and certainly more complex than just using MIDI. So let's hit play, and I have the volume down. Whoops. All right, so we've got multiple things running at the same time. It's really no hang-ups at all. It's really no issues. You can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4 separate audio files. There's actually Ruismaker is running, some more Brambos, the Rosetta suite, so there is MIDI stuff running as well. Again, it just seems to work, no problem. So there you go, I hope that's helpful. To wrap it all up, I'm happy with my purchase. I don't regret it. But a lot of the improvements I'm seeing are because I moved from the 11-inch iPad Pro to the 12.9-inch, rather than because I moved from a 2018 or even a 2020 to a 2021. Those improvements, those are just bonuses. The improved screen, a little more speed, the better camera for video conferencing. Not sure I would have bought the iPad just for those, but Apple has a whole line of iPads. One does not have to buy the iPad Pro. Look at what your needs are and what your uses are, and you can probably buy one of the iPads that aren't as expensive. But for my needs, I use it a lot for music, video creation, photos, and a bunch of other stuff. I think it was worth it for me. A couple of areas I didn't cover in this video, or the last one. There's a lot of chatter online now about that apps on the iPad can only take advantage of 5 gigabytes of RAM. Depending on the iPad Pro version you have, you would either get 8 gigabytes of RAM or 16. I have the 1 terabyte version, so it does have 16 gigabytes of RAM. I'm not really noticing anything that would give me concern about that right now, but we'll see. The other area that's getting a lot of talk is about blooming with the screen. If you have a bright object against a dark background or white text against a dark background, you might see a halo around it. I only see that if I jack the brightness up to 100%, which is not what I do in typical use. And to be fair, I think it comes down to people's eyesight as well. I know when I look at the 11-inch iPad, which uses a different screen technology, I do see some of that blooming as well when the screen brightness is all the way up. So for me, that hasn't been an issue. And I do find that you can photograph the screen and it looks like there's blooming, but it's not there in real life. So that's something everybody has to decide for themselves. If you have any questions, please leave them below and I'll try to answer them as best as I can, or I'll cover that in a future video. I'd also love to hear your experience with the 2021 iPad, what you think of it, what music apps you're using. And if you did get the new iPad, I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.